Dhari Chishodhanandana Brajajanaranjana Chishodhanandana Brajajanaranjana Jamuna Tira Banachari Jamuna Tira Banachari Jayaradha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Sri Radha Madhava Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Shaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvisesa Sindhuvari Paschati. Usha, can I do my own introduction?
Yes.
Yeah. So here's my introduction. I'm very fortunate to have met Prabhupada when I was very young. And my life became, I think, extraordinary by the ordinary sense. Not that I'm extraordinary, but by the association of a pure devotee, all of our lives became extraordinary. And I think in a sense, my life is testimony to this topic. And the topic of who Krishna gives intelligence to is the ones who need it, the ones who want it, the ones who want to be Krishna conscious. And so, but not only intelligence, Krishna gives guidance, guides you to the right place, the right books, the right devotees, the right people. So my life is basically like that there was a desire and Krishna guided me in many ways, only at the time that I was ready, not before. But at that point that when I was ready, the weather was right, the soil was fertile, then Krishna planted the seed. And I'm going to be writing a book about Prabhupada and maybe intertwining my life into that. And one of the titles I thought of, I don't know if we'll use it, but an ordinary person with an extraordinary guru, something like that, or the autobiography of an ordinary person, but how the ordinary can become extraordinary. So I was so happy to have a purpose. I didn't really have a purpose in life. I was part of the counterculture and we were rejecting everything. So, our basic purpose was to reject, but there wasn't really anything positive that, we were looking for positive things, but there wasn't a unified positive direction because the hippie movement didn't have a guru. So when I found Prabhupada Bhagavad Gita, it gave me a purpose. And then I was so happy to be able to share Krishna consciousness with others. And I've had the opportunity to do that in many countries around the world. And it's the most satisfying thing. And you may have heard, I'm sure you've all heard that Prabhupada said when he was asked, how do you repay your guru? And he said, well, you can't, but you can try. And how can you try? He said, by sharing Krishna consciousness. So I found sharing Krishna consciousness to be my life. It has helped me. When you share it, you get it. And so that's what I do. And specifically now, maybe for the last 20 years, I've focused a lot on putting Krishna consciousness into seminars, workshops, retreats, where we go deeper, we spend more time. And even when I give classes, like I will pick a topic and give 10 classes, or I think one topic I gave about 100 classes. We did a topic on death. I think I gave 100 classes on it. It was just, we read everything Prabhupada said, and it took us 100 classes to read it all. So I like to go into topics that, so one topic we can go into deeply and really understand it, both in its depth and its breadth, its width, its height, all directions, all 10 directions. And I also like to talk about practical topics, how to relate to philosophy practically. I think that's essentially important. Often we stay in our heads philosophically, and we don't always know how to apply it well. So I focused on that. And I've also focused on topics that are not, that I believe are extremely important, but are not generally addressed, or not addressed at all sometimes. And I think they're not addressed because they're maybe not directly addressed in our scriptures. You have to connect some dots. But I see that these are relevant topics. Devotees talk about it. They want to talk about it. They want to know more. So I do a lot of that, those areas where I see devotees have problems or our movement has problems. I like to address those. And I do similar things with non-devotees. And we have a group called Sattva. And we also do workshop seminars and use a lot of the Socratic method, where we ask people to answer questions and they begin to understand things on their own. And I do a lot of work with japa, both for devotees and non-devotees, and other things, but that's general. My ordinary person, we're all ordinary, but extraordinarily fortunate, and Prabhupada will make us extraordinary. So this is one of my favorite topics, how Krishna gives intelligence, and I'll explain why. Sometimes it's difficult. We run into difficulties in our spiritual life. And sometimes we don't know whether to turn left or right, or even if there is a left or right, if there's anything. And so what I've found in my life as a devotee, one of the greatest comforts I've found is if I want to be Krishna conscious sincerely, or not even that sincerely, but some sincerity, some intention that this is what's important for me, at least more important than other things, that I have found that Krishna will always give guidance, and or if I'm going in the wrong direction, he'll push me the other way. I just heard a story this morning. This devotee met a girl online, and it ended up she was a prostitute. And he went to meet her, I guess, for the wrong reasons. And in going to her place, he couldn't get there. His GPS was malfunctioning. Like, how often does your GPS just not get you there, continually? So sometimes Krishna, for the sincere devotee, will externally cause situations. If he thinks you're not that smart that I can even communicate intelligently to you, then I'll create some other situation to redirect you. So I've always found that's one of the most comforting things about a Krishna consciousness, that if I don't have to be smart, I don't even have to be that pious or have a track record of being Krishna conscious for 1,000,000 lifetimes, etc. But if I want to be Krishna conscious, if I just have that desire, then Krishna will give me the guidance. And so we should understand why Krishna does that. And we should understand who he does it for. Obviously, he does it for devotees. Why? It's because that's what the devotee is trying to do. And Krishna knows that as conditioned souls on our own, we can't do it. We need help. And Krishna wants us to go back to Godhead. I think sometimes devotees it feel, maybe not consciously, almost like Krishna must not want me to go back to Godhead because it seems like he's making it really difficult. But the fact is, he's not making it difficult. We're making it difficult for ourselves. And sometimes, have you ever done something wrong and you think, oh, Krishna's arrangement, he must have wanted that. No, Prabhu, it wasn't Krishna's arrangement. You actually did something wrong. Or there's some situation, they say, Krishna's testing me. That may be, but often Krishna's not testing you. You just gave in to Maya. So, it's not a test. You just gave in to Maya and she basically knocked you over. So sometimes we tend to blame things on Krishna, thinking like, doesn't seem like Krishna really is making it that easy for me to go back to Godhead. Well, that's true in a sense, because if he makes it too easy, we just go to sleep. But the other side of the equation is that it's difficult for a conditioned soul, that's for sure. But Krishna is always there to give guidance. That's his promise, Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam. He promises that. So rest assured and take shelter in this beautiful thought that if you want to be Krishna conscious, Krishna will help you 100%. You actually don't have to worry. All you have to worry about is wanting to be Krishna conscious. Or you could say being intelligent enough to make that decision, and then the intelligence you need to execute your devotional service and stay on the path, that will all come from Krishna. It's kind of like a slot machine, right? You just put in your coin and turn it. That's all you have to do. And then if you're fortunate, the jackpot comes out. So with Krishna, cranking that is just the sincerity. And then Krishna creates the jackpot. So you put in $1 and you get $100. That's Kripa. That's Krishna doing that. Krishna giving what you need. All you need is enough intelligence to know that if I show Krishna this is what I want, he'll give me everything else. And that's Ananyas Chintayantamam, that verse. I carry what you lack. So I lack so much. But this one thing, I have to show Krishna, I want him. I just have to show him that. And I have to make that effort. And then Krishna sees, okay, he's showing me by his actions and by his mentality that he wants me. I will give him. I will guide him. I will give him, I will fill that gap between what he can do and what needs to be done, right? You know, that gap. This is what I can do, but I need to be up here, and Krishna will fill that with intelligence. Not only intelligence, but inspiration and guidance. So now, I don't know if you know this, but several times Srila Prabhupada was asked why someone becomes a devotee and why somebody doesn't. You know, I'm sure you must have thought like that. Like, why did this person come to the temple, but their brother didn't? Why did this person become a devotee, but none of my friends became devotees? Is it me? Is it them? Is it the luck of the draw? Is it accidental? What is it? It's, you know, we all think like that. And then it's an important question also for preaching. But fortunately, we don't have to speculate. Prabhupada was asked this question. And every time he was asked, he gave two things that qualified someone to become a devotee, or caused, I don't say qualified, caused them. He said intelligence and fortune. And that seems like, okay, intelligence. You have to be smart enough to understand this is a good deal. Hey, Paramatma, I got a stock. It's probably going to go up 5,000%. Just invest 10,000 Rand, 15,000 Rand, and you will be a millionaire next month. And Paramatma said, I don't know, it's a lot of money, and what if I lose it? And I go, you fool, like every investor in the three worlds, even Lord Brahma is investing in this. Get with the program, Paramatma. Oh, I don't know. Yeah. So then he doesn't take to it, or he takes to it. And so if he takes to it, we think, oh, he's intelligent. He took to it. If he doesn't, we think he's not very smart. And certainly he's fortunate if he did it. He becomes fortunate. And certainly unfortunate if he doesn't. So you could say, well, what does it mean they're fortunate? Pious could mean pious, could mean they've done devotional service in their past life. It could be so many things. But everyone can exercise their intelligence, but not everyone is, you could say, pious enough or spiritual enough to be that intelligent. But still, let's just look at it at face value. We can say, be intelligent and take advantage of your fortune. And if you do that, then Krishna will help you. And rest assured, he will help you no matter what. So all of you listening now, are listening to this recording, no matter what you think about your chances of winning the jackpot of going back to Godhead, it doesn't matter. If you take up the process sincerely, Krishna promises, I will give you the intelligence once. What kind of intelligence? I mean, what's the result of that intelligence? Yena mam upayanti te, I'll give you the intelligence by which you can come back to me. And then someone may say, but I read that women are less intelligent. So is Krishna going to give me the intelligence, or am I just like not smart enough? Or I'm just a simple village person. It's not, we're not talking about IQ, academic intelligence whatsoever. And Prabhupada joked with the women, he used to say, well, your brain's only 32 ounces, but when you become a devotee, it becomes 64 ounces. And so many derogatory things were said about women in our Shastra, because the Shastra was written for men and it's kind of written for often for single men. So, so they put in a few things just to ensure that they stay single. But Prabhupada used to say, when you become a devotee, all these things that the scriptures say about women, they don't apply to women. Now, you're no longer less intelligent. You're the most intelligent. And as an interesting side fact, I did a search for less intelligent on the database. It came out 1,007 times. So that's generic. That means like everybody, man, women, child, just any human form of life. You're less intelligent. Why? What are the symptoms of less intelligent? Engaged in material activity, you don't believe in God, you don't surrender to God like that, you don't accept the Vedas. That's the definition of less intelligent. Then I searched women are less intelligent. 6 times it came up. So at least what we have recorded, Prabhupada, and in his books written, is 6 times. And I have a theory, which some may disagree with, and you're welcome to disagree with it, but I will throw it out. Everywhere it says women are less intelligent, it's in the context of men should protect them. So that's not even a statement for women. So like women, you don't have to worry about it. It's a statement for men that you should protect them. What should you protect them from? My joke is car mechanics. Protect them from car mechanics, because when they see a woman coming, they know she doesn't know anything about cars. Men usually know about cars. Not that all women don't, but they figure you don't know. So they throw a few words like the this and the that and the timing chain and the belt and the spark plug, like, okay, do whatever you can, otherwise your car could break down in the middle of nowhere and then some guy's going to come and attack you. Okay, fix my car. So that's my joke. Women, protect women from who? And then the other sad joke is protect them from their husbands, because sometimes they need protection from their husbands. But that statement, women are less intelligent, is a statement for the men, that women trust men, and sometimes they trust the wrong men, and that they're exploited by those men. So that's one meaning of it. So therefore, it's a warning to the men to protect your mothers, your sisters from men who could be aggressors. And it also means, and this is also general statement, because we have this in the Bhagavatam of Prahlad's mother. She heard Narada Muni speak Bhagavatam to Prahlad. Obviously, she heard it. But she was so concerned about Prahlad's protection and so attached, she actually didn't hear it and benefit from it. So Prabhupada uses that as an example, that sometimes women are more concerned about material things, so they lack spiritually. But how could that be true for any woman who's spiritually interested? Ironically, Prabhupada said, you'll find more women at spiritual gatherings. So, it's kind of a paradox in a sense. But I think, this is my theory. Okay, I'll tell you my theory. You can accept it or reject it. When Prabhupada is saying women are less intelligent, as I said, it doesn't apply to devotees. Once you become a devotee, Krishna gives you intelligence. You're the most intelligent. Even if you're a 5-year-old girl, you become a devotee, you know Krishna, is the Supreme Lord. You know you're a servant. You're the most intelligent. You're 5 years old. You're more intelligent than the Harvard professors, the religion professors. If they don't know that, and you do, you're smarter than them. You're more intelligent in an absolute sense. So if in Prabhupada's books, instead of said women are less intelligent, Prabhupada said women tend to be exploited by men and they need to be protected. Then all the women would read that. They'd really like Prabhupada. They think that's really nice that here is a spiritual leader saying, right? You agree? The two doctors, the Rupa Narayan doctors, you agree? If you read a book and it said, a spiritual book, women should be protected. Men are exploiting them. It's a duty of men to be respectful and so on. Would you like that? Would that make you feel, yeah. So that's actually what Prabhupada means. That just comes out in another way because he's quoting Manu Samhita, he's quoting Chanakya Pandit, and it's contextual, cultural. So here's my theory. And we can't prove this theory, it's too late. But my theory is, if devotees went to Prabhupada and said, Prabhupada, we see that what you mean by this women are less intelligent is they're prone to trust in men who are not trustworthy and be exploited. And of course, Prabhupada would say, yeah, because if you read the context, that's the context. And the other context is tend to be materially attached. And therefore, men tend to be less materially attached. And of course, it's generalization. And so the men can guide them. Of course, in Kali Yuga, men are materially attached. But these statements came out most likely when men were stronger. And so, men can give that guidance where needed. And so we say, Prabhupada, when women read in your books that they're less intelligent, many women will not read further. And they say, I want nothing to do with the Hare Krishna movement. And they actually may accept our philosophy. Could we rephrase it so it's understood in a context that would be appreciated? There's at least a 50% chance Prabhupada would say, okay, change it. Because other things came to Prabhupada and he changed them. Said that people won't understand this. But Prabhupada sometimes says something, and in his culture, it's like, yeah, whatever. If people understand it, it's not a problem. So anyway, that's another issue. But I just wanted, I don't want women to walk around and think, well, I have 150 IQ, but I must be really a fool because it says right there I'm not intelligent. And then you start acting like you have an IQ of 10. That's not what we want, but we've seen that. Have you seen that? Any of you seen that? Where you kind of think, well, yeah. That's either one way to react to it, or the other way to react is just become angry that that's not right. Who are these men think they are? Or the other way to react to it is try to understand it in the proper context that Prabhupada meant it. But I just want to make sure that when we're talking about spiritual intelligence, women don't think that they don't have the opportunity to get as much spiritual intelligence as they require. If you women didn't get that spiritual intelligence, how did you become devotees? Because it requires a bit of intelligence, doesn't it, to disentangle yourself? We are very philosophical, so it requires some philosophical intelligence, not just piety, to understand and what to speak of remain in Krishna consciousness and practice it sincerely. So when we talk about this intelligence, this spiritual intelligence that Krishna gives, Prabhupada, he gives an example that Mayavads and others, they think, well, the devotees, they're sentimentalists. They're not very intelligent because the Mayavads, they take sannyas, they study Vedanta, they learn Sanskrit. So very, very philosophical. And when they saw Mahaprabhu, they said, oh, he's just dancing. Like, this is not religion. This is just sentimental. So they look at bhakti and they think it's sentimental. And they think, well, we're jnanis. That means we are full of knowledge, we're smarter. So Prabhupada gives the example that if Krishna gives you intelligence, then who can be smarter than you? So now it's not your intelligence, it's Krishna's intelligence. So, they think the bhaktas are not intelligent, not just women, all bhaktas. and we say, Didami Buddhi Yogam Tam, who could be more intelligent than the one Krishna chooses to give intelligence to? Now it's his intelligence that we have. So the bhaktas are way more intelligent. And gyan is a byproduct of bhakti. Anyway, we don't even have to cultivate it. It comes as a byproduct. So we are all in a very safe position. And I think the essential point that I want to make in this discussion is that what stimulates Krishna to give us intelligence, and and why sometimes is Maya so strong in our life, and it doesn't seem fair. Like, why is Maya pushing me? Krishna sometimes inspires us, and then some days we lose that inspiration. Why does that happen? It's not arbitrary. It's not Krishna's having a good day, and so you're lucky. It's you are directing Krishna to what you want. So this is really, really important, because yeyatamam prapadyante, where you direct your intention, your consciousness, what you focus on, those are all prayers. Even though you don't pray for it, they're prayers, because you're showing Krishna, this is the direction I want to go. Like there was that movie, The Secret. And there are some things in it which are a little strange, but the principle applies in the yeyatamam prapadyante verse. As you surrender, I reward accordingly. In that verse, Prabhupada's not just talking about surrendering to Krishna, he's talking about surrendering to Maya also. It's like, whatever you surrender to, I reciprocate. So Prabhupada once told a joke. I was in the class, and he was talking about this principle, and he said, the thief is praying to God, guide me to a house where nobody's home and the door's open and they have a lot of gold jewelry, something like that, right? Or guide me to the house with a lot of gold jewelry. I think nowadays they have meters. You just go outside the house and it tells you how many pounds of gold are in each house. So, and then Prabhupada said, and the people in the neighborhood where the thieves come are praying, Krishna, please don't let any thieves come to my house. And Prabhupada was laughing. He said, now God is bewildered. He doesn't know what to do, because he's got two different requests, two opposite requests in the same neighborhood. So what was the point of that joke? The point is that when we say Didami Buddhi Yogam Tam, Yenamam Upayantite, that's for devotees, but Yeyatam Mam Prapadyante is for everybody. So does Krishna give intelligence to everybody? Yes. What kind of intelligence? The kind of intelligence they want. Have you ever had ideas about how you could enjoy the material world? Like, well, if I just did this and that, then I could, get a house on top of the hill and build a swimming pool and, and your mind goes off. And so your intelligence is planning. Where's that coming from? Where's that intelligence coming from? Everything comes from Krishna, obviously. So why am I getting that kind of crazy intelligence? Well, that's where you're directing your consciousness. Prabhupada used to say, a lot of criminals are very intelligent. They perform very intelligent crimes, right? Yeah. There was a devotee who actually performed a crime. It was a weird devotee. He performed a crime that he couldn't get caught for, because he rigged up something, but he wouldn't be around for it. And he never got caught. And he told me about this crime he was going to commit. And then I saw him years later. And he said, I actually did it. I said, did it work? And he said, yeah. I wasn't condoning it. Don't worry. He didn't pay. I didn't get half the profits. So, and he was very proud. And he said, in the newspaper, it said it was one of the most ingenious crimes ever committed. And he was like laughing and saying, because it took intelligence to commit the crime. So it's really important that we can't blame Krishna for us being in Maya. Oh, Krishna, why did you have to create Maya? It would have been so much easier. Like, no, Maya. No. We have to understand Krishna didn't create Maya, we did. It's like we wanted it. Krishna didn't think, I will create Maya just so everyone can forget me. No, Krishna said, you want to forget me, so I will facilitate that. That's how it works, right? You understand that? Material world, if there weren't people like us, there wouldn't be a material world. There'd be no need for it. No criminals, no need for prisons, right? There's no criminals. Well, let's just keep the prison open. We'll take people on tours of the prison. No, you don't need it. Turn it into a school. Use it. There's no more criminals. So Prabhupada said, you don't need this world. That's actually, this world's so important. We have to make it better. That we're destroying the earth. What about the future? Okay, relatively speaking, those are concerns. But in the absolute sense, let the whole world just disappear. It's not that important. If there's no conditioned souls, we don't need it. We don't need a prison if there's no criminals. So why did Krishna create the world? What was Prabhupada's answer? Because you wanted it. It's your playground. You wanted to play separate from Krishna, so you had to create a playground. Now we're in the playground and we're blaming Krishna for our Maya. It doesn't make sense. It's like I give this example. You go to a restaurant, you say, I want a veggie burger and chips and a salad and a ginger lemonade. Now you're all hungry, right? As soon as I said that, yeah. So, and then they bring it to you and you look at it and it's not looking the way you thought it would look. And it's like, why did you bring that? I don't like it. He said, because you ordered it. So in many ways, Maya delivers our order. And then we're saying, Maya, why are you bringing this? This is hurting me. It's bad for my Krishna consciousness. And Maya says, but you ordered it. And we don't think we ordered it. We think she just decided to bring it. No, Maya doesn't do home delivery unless you order it. It's very important to understand that. Maya, why did you bring this veggie burger to my house? Don't you remember you ordered it? Oh, I don't really remember. So sometimes these desires are subconscious, but they're actually prayers, right? The opposite is true. Sometimes Krishna saves us. Sometimes Krishna gives us these like deep realizations, and you feel like, I don't even deserve a realization like that. That's a realization that should only be received by somebody more advanced. But Krishna saw your sincerity. He decided to give you this very deep realization. Why? Because you wanted it. That's why. So now this brings us really to the central point. Intelligence is given according to your need, your desire. And therefore, my dear devotees, we have to be extremely intelligent about our intentions, because Krishna is going to help manifest those intentions, those desires, be they material, be they spiritual. He's going to give internal guidance, be it for material success, spiritual. There's nothing wrong with material success, but we're talking more about material, selfish pleasure, those things. I want this for myself. It's got nothing to do with Krishna at all. And so forgetting Krishna is very easy, but forgetting Krishna for a devotee who sincerely wants him is virtually impossible. It's just Krishna doesn't supply the material energy necessary to forget him because you don't want it. You're not ordering from Maya's restaurant, so she's not making any deliveries. So every time Maya shows up, go back and step back and think, what did I do? What was I thinking? What was I desiring that caused this to happen? It's not accidental at all. Nothing is accidental. And every time you get a realization, pat yourself on the back and think, I must have done something right because Krishna is helping me. So that's my introduction. How long is this class scheduled to last?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, it's about an hour talk and then questions after that.
Okay. So
is that okay for you? You're welcome to talk longer.
No. I have some things I would like to read, which will just substantiate what I said. So I'm going to go
Sure.
to the folio, the database, and read some things that Prabhupada has said about Krishna gives intelligence. It's always nice to back everything up with Shastra. And then I'll share the screen so that you can all read along with me. I'm assuming you can see that, correct?
Yes, Maharaj, we can see.
Okay. So this is from 3:13:49. Yeah. Whoops, let's go to the verse. Tasmin prasane sakala shisham prabho kim dulabam tabihalam lavat mabihi ananya drishta bhajatam tuhashaya sayam vidadate sagatim paraparam. Translation. Nothing remains unachieved when the Supreme Personality of Godhead is pleased with someone. By transcendental achievement, one understands everything else to be insignificant. One who engages in transcendental loving service is elevated to the highest perfectional stage by the Lord himself, who is seated in everyone's heart. What a beautiful verse. Tattoo that verse to your heart. It's so encouraging. Purport. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 10:10, the Lord gives intelligence to the pure devotees so that they may be elevated to the highest perfectional stage. And you say, okay, well, that counts me out. I'm not a pure devotee. Prabhupada said, all my disciples are pure devotees if they follow the instruction of the pure devotee, not even follow, try their best to follow the instruction of the pure devotee, they're pure devotees. That's the broad definition of pure devotee. So don't be discouraged by this, thinking that you're counted out because you're not a pure devotee. It is confirmed herein that a pure devotee who constantly engages in the loving service of the Lord is awarded all knowledge necessary to reach the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For such a devotee, there is nothing valuable to be achieved but the Lord's service. If one serves faithfully, there is no possibility of frustration. I'm going to read that again because that's powerful. If one serves faithfully, there is no possibility of frustration because the Lord himself takes charge of the devotee's advancement. The Lord is seated in everyone's heart, and he knows the devotee's motive and arranges everything achievable. In other words, the pseudo-devotee who is anxious to achieve material gains cannot attain the highest perfectional stage because the Lord is in knowledge of his motive. One merely has to become sincere in his purpose, and then the Lord is there to help in every way. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Kind of sums up everything I said. Let's go to the next one. And if you have questions, you can also, as we're reading, you can put them in the chat. Or you can write them down, and then when it's time for questions, you can ask. So this is 4th canto, 9th chapter, text 8. Twaddataya varunahedam achashta vishvam supta prabudha ivanata bhavat prapanaha tasyapa bharga sharanam tapapadamulam vishmaryate krutta vidakatam artabandho. Translation. O my master, Lord Brahma is fully surrendered unto you. In the beginning, you gave him knowledge, and thus he could see and understand the entire universe, just as a person awakens from sleep and visualizes his immediate duties. You are the only shelter of all persons who desire liberation, and you are the friend of all who are distressed. How, therefore, can a learned person who has perfect knowledge ever forget you? Purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead cannot be forgotten even for a moment by his surrendered devotees. The devotee understands that the Lord's causeless mercy is beyond his estimation. He cannot know how much he is benefited by the grace of the Lord. The more a devotee engages in the devotional service of the Lord, the more encouragement is supplied by the energy of the Lord. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that to those who are constantly engaged in devotional service with love and affection, the Supreme Personality of Godhead gives intelligence from within, and thus they make further progress. Being so encouraged, the devotee can never forget at any moment the personality of Godhead. He always feels obliged to him for having achieved increased power in devotional service by his grace. So one point here, which I want to underscore, which I had mentioned before, is it's always important to remember that we're not in battle between us and Krishna, like who's going to win? Krishna, will you help me? And Krishna's like, no, I don't know, how much money you got, show me something, let's make a deal. It's not like that. Although sometimes it seems like that, doesn't it? Hold on a second. I'm going to make things a little brighter. So it's always important to remember there's no battle between us and Krishna. Krishna wants us to go back to Godhead. So he wants to help us. It's like, here, I'll help you. I'm here. Come over. Come over to my house. I'll tell you what to do. And so our position is like, well, let me think about it. I don't know if I have time today to come over. I don't even know if I want your help. And you may think, well, that sounds strange. Why would a devotee say, I don't even know if I want your help? Well, think about it. Some of us are not sure if we want to go back to Godhead. No, some of us are not sure how Krishna conscious we want to become. Some of us are even afraid, what if Krishna makes me too Krishna? He gives me too much intelligence. I'll become too detached. Isn't it? I don't know if that's you, but that thinking is there amongst a lot of devotees. Krishna, give me some intelligence, just a little bit, a few drops today. I don't know if I can digest more. Krishna wants you to go back to Godhead, as Prabhupada said, a lot more than you want to go. And so he's totally on our side. The person who's not on our side as much as Krishna is us. It's not the other way around. Krishna, why don't you help me? It's so hard. Maya's so strong. Yeah. Well, what can I do? You're thinking of Maya all the time. That's what you want. So we're the one that's creating the problem, not Krishna. So it's important to understand Krishna's help is unlimited. He'll give you as much help as you need. Whatever problem you have, he can solve it for you. For sure. So I think that's extremely important to clarify. And let's go back to finish the purport. Yeah, we're starting in the middle of this first paragraph, beginning right here where the cursor is. He always feels obliged to him for having achieved increased power in devotional service by his grace. Saintly persons like Sanatana, and Lord Brahma were able to see the entire universe by the mercy of the Lord through knowledge of the Lord. The example is given that a person may apparently abstain from sleep all day, but as long as he is not spiritually enlightened, he is actually sleeping. He may sleep at night and perform his duties in the daytime. But as long as he does not come to the platform of working in spiritual enlightenment, he is considered to be always sleeping. A devotee, therefore, never forgets the benefit derived from the Lord. So let's read one more, and then we can take some questions. So we'll read from this purport. Start reading from here. Lord Shiva's duty is very dangerous because he has to employ the energy of goddess Kali or Durga. Kali. In another popular picture, the goddess Kali is sometimes seen standing on the prostrate body of Lord Shiva, which indicates that sometimes Lord Shiva has to fall down flat in order to stop goddess Kali from killing the asuras. Since Lord Shiva controls the great material energy, goddess Durga, worshippers of Lord Shiva attain very opulent positions within this material world. Under Lord Shiva's direction, a worshipper of Lord Shiva gets all kinds of material facilities. In contrast, a Vaishnava or worshipper of Lord Vishnu gradually becomes poorer in material possessions because Lord Vishnu does not trick his devotees into becoming materially entangled by possessions. Lord Vishnu gives his devotees intelligence from within, as stated in Bhagavad Gita 10:10, Tesham satata yuktanam Vajitam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam dinamam upayanti te. To those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. Now, you might read this and say, wait a minute, I don't have love. Whenever you see this word love and you think, okay, that counts me out, just change it to sincerity. To those who are constantly devoted to serving me with sincerity. Our sincerity is our love. And following Prabhupada's instructions, following instructions of our authorities, that is our love. That's how we manifest it. And at one time Prabhupada said, Prabhupada was asked, how do you love me? He said, follow your initiation vows. Follow the instructions I've given you. That's your sign of love. Thus, Lord Vishnu gives intelligence to his devotee so that the devotee can make progress on the path back home, back to Godhead. Since a devotee has nothing to do with any kind of material possession, he does not come under the control of goddess Kali or goddess Durga. So when we speak about intelligence, this is the main verse. Tesham satata yuktanam. To those who are always engaged. Satata yuktanam. Bhajitam priti with love, worshiping with love. The Dhammi, I give buddhi, the intelligence, yogam, to connect. Buddhi yogam, I give the intelligence of bhakti, by which they can come to me. So, definitely 100% Krishna wants us to come to him. Definitely 100% Krishna is willing to help us. And definitely 100%, if Krishna doesn't help us, there's no way we can do it. So if you take that verse out of the Bhagavad Gita, then it's kind of like hopeless situation. You know, Krishna says, who's ever devoted and worshiping me with love, you're going to have to do it yourself. If that was the next line, that would kind of put us all out of business, right? So Krishna is saying, you do 10%, I'll do the other 90%, right? And it's the same with Maya. Give her 10%. Give her an inch, she'll take a mile. Give Krishna an inch, he'll take you up 100 miles. So I think one of the most beautiful thoughts in bhakti is, I just have to be sincere. From that sincerity, it's like the engine, I just push the button, the engine starts. You know, it's like, I push that button of sincerity, then everything else will come. Krishna will make arrangements. He'll guide me. He'll inspire me. He'll give me everything else I need for bhakti, if I can just do that. And then Prabhupada was asked on many occasions, well, how do you become sincere? And Prabhupada simply said, by being sincere. So sincerity means your motive should be pure. That's what it means to be sincere. Motive purely to serve. So then if you think about that question, you realize it's a stupid question. How do I become unmotivated? Well, now, right now, Prabhu, you're cooking. So how do you become unmotivated? You just think this is for Krishna's pleasure. Tape your tongue up while you're cooking and just, whatever, close your eyes, don't lust after it. That's it. That's your sincerity. This is for Krishna's pleasure. My guru asked me to do something. I'm doing it because he wants me to do it. I'm doing this because Prabhupada wants this. I'm doing this because Krishna wants it, not because I will enjoy it. You will enjoy it anyway as a byproduct, but that's not why you're doing it. That's it. That's how you become sincere. When I was before I was a devotee, this idea was deeply impregnated in the classes the devotees gave. That they said, whatever you do, do it for Krishna. And that idea was so much stuck in my head. I was going to college and I didn't even understand practically what it meant. But that idea was stuck in my head. And all day I would think, whatever I do, I have to do this for Krishna. So I would try to think I'm doing it for Krishna. I'm studying for Krishna. I'm walking to school for Krishna. I'm taking a bath for Krishna. Later, of course, I understood what it meant. But that's what it means to be sincere. This is for his pleasure. How do you do that? You just do it. That's how you do it. I'm not going to write a book, 10 Steps to Sincerity. The book is going to be called Be Sincere. The first page is going to be, how can we be sincere? The second page is going to say, be sincere. The third page is going to say, the end. That's the book. No, we'll call it the steps to sincerity. And then you realize there's only one. What does it mean? It's a beautiful thought, because what it means is that everybody can be sincere in one step. It doesn't require any qualification. That's the beauty of it. And you don't have to wait for 10 years till you become sincere. And when you become sincere, the Dhammi Buddhi Yogam Tam, you've started the engine, the mercy flows, Krishna gives you intelligence. So as long as you're sincere every day, all day, as long as your intention is to become pure, you get that guidance, you get that. If you lose that intention, then Maya will come and give you, or Krishna will help. They work together sometimes. He will give you the intelligence. Turn it around. It's nice to turn verses around. To those who are not devoted and don't serve me with love, I give the intelligence by which they can remain in the material world forever. Just flip the verse around. You can do that with any verse. It's interesting to flip verses around. Okay, so we're going to take questions.
Krishna Maharaj. Maharaj, there's two questions. There's two questions in the chat box.
Okay. I will go there in a second.
Okay.
I'm really excited today. You know why? Because yesterday I gave class with the Russian translation. So you can't get too excited when there's a translation, because you get excited and you want to keep talking and you have to stop. So it always puts a brake on your enthusiasm. And today I'm excited because I don't have to stop, because you all understand English. Okay. So. Hare Krishna Mittal. First time he's attending Zoom. Nice. Sonia, you must be, let me guess, you are sisters with Usha. Is that correct? Just guessing. Welcome, Sonia. Okay, Vivo 1601 is with us. Why don't you put your real name? Why Vivo 1601? Is that like you're a rapper and that's your rap name? Is that you, Mahesh? Or is that somebody else? What is the meaning of sincere and purpose? I think we've discussed that. We answered that. Hari says, there's some desires whose intentions are sometimes uncertain. Is that desires or devotees? Are uncertain to us. desires whose intentions are uncertain to us, how should we act? There are certain actions which we want to do, which externally may be spiritually appreciated, but if the desire behind is some material praise ego, then what should we do? Should we perform such actions? Yeah, you should. But you should understand that if I'm doing devotional service and the motive behind it is really my own pleasure or gratification, it's like you're really like ruining it. You're really poisoning, you're taking something pure and you're contaminating it. Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. You're taking such a pure thing, bhakti, and contaminating. It's like, let's look at it like this. This is for Krishna's pleasure, right? And the focus is meant to be on Krishna. He's the one we worship. He's the one where all our affection goes. He's the one we direct everyone to worship. But by that false ego, I'm kind of standing in front of him and saying, hey, look at me. I did this service. I'm great. And so we're kind of taking that focus off Krishna and putting that focus on ourselves. Why would you want to do that? It contaminates the whole thing. So when you have a desire like that and you understand what it is and how bad it is, it's much easier to let it go because you realize this is utterly ridiculous. This is antithetical to everything bhakti stands for. I'm right now standing in front of Krishna saying, hey, everybody, look at me. Right? It's like you're offering arti, right? And so we're all focusing on Krishna, and you're doing this very flamboyant arti, and you're all dressed up. You got the like perfect dhoti, tied perfectly. You got the perfect tilak. You got a big tilak on your arms. And you're doing it, and you're ringing the bell, and it looks like it's a movie, And you're thinking, hey, everybody, look at me. Like, what could be worse than that? We don't want to look at you. We want to look at Krishna. I mean, we don't mind looking at you. You're doing the arti, but we don't want to look at you because you want us to. So like, what are you doing? We're supposed to be focusing on Krishna and you want us to focus on you. Isn't there something wrong with that? Obviously, yes. So when you understand that, then you can see how wrong it is. And when you see how wrong it is, then it's much easier to correct it. The other thing I want to say about that is the whole point of bhakti, the whole goal of bhakti, the whole point of the Hare Krishna movement is to learn how to serve without any motive. And so if I'm not doing that, then I should question myself, am I actually learning? Am I actually progressing? If after all these years, my motive is to be glorified, what have I learned? And how is that affecting my relationship with Krishna? He doesn't like me to do that. He doesn't like proud devotees. So if I'm concerned with pleasing Krishna, then pride is the last thing I want to exhibit because that's the most displeasing to him. So I think if you put it in that context, then it'll be easier to purify that desire. I hope it would be. Anyway, you can consider that. And if you need more clarification, then you can ask more. So Bishwa Sharup from Kolkata, Bishwa Sharup. He said, Dandabat, Bengali, Dandabat Pranam, Hare Krishna. Whether Lord fulfills, is my Bengali accent okay? Bishwa? Bishwa. In Sanskrit, it's Vishva. In Bengali, it's Bishwa. Vishva to Bishwa. Whether the Lord fulfills all desires, including the petty desires which keep us from changing the passage of time and become irrelevant. He may or may not, because if you're very sincere to be Krishna conscious, but you're very weak, and therefore you have these desires, sometimes Krishna will frustrate you in those desires. He won't let you fulfill them because he sees your heart. It's not like you really want them. It's just that you're weak. So sometimes he won't let you fulfill them. Or sometimes he will create frustration in your life in trying to fulfill them, either before you fulfill them or after, because he wants to pull you out of that. Now, if you sincerely want to forget Krishna, then he will sincerely help you. So you have to be careful what you want, because basically Krishna is kind of like the steering wheel of your life. And you're turning the wheel by showing him where you want to go. And I've had ample experience of turning the wheel in the right way and the wrong way. And it's abundantly clear to me that if I look to the right, the car is going to go to the right. And if I look to the left, the car is going to go to the left. And you can actually experiment with that on an empty highway. Look to the right, your car, if you look to the right, you will drive to the right. If you look to the left, you will drive to the left, even if you're not trying. And our life is just like that also. So just be careful what you're looking at, because Krishna will drive your car in that direction, which is great if you're looking towards him, and not great if you're not. So again, it goes back to sincerity, because we're weak, but if we're sincere, Krishna will help us not give into our weakness. How to develop a deep desire to get love of Krishna. I think that aside from following sadhana, but you're talking about preliminary to sadhana, which is the desire to even do it. To me, the two best ways is good japa and reading Prabhupada's books, because that's all Prabhupada is really doing in his books. It's just trying to convince our intelligence, purify our intelligence, so that we desire to be sincere in our execution. And then if you sincerely execute, the desire gets stronger, because there's more pleasure in serving Krishna than anything else. But if you don't read Prabhupada's books regularly, then Maya, her Shakti is avaranatmika. That avaranatmika Shakti just makes you forget. And that's why Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, because we're really good at forgetting. Like Maya is just amazing. She could make you forget everything. Do you ever get really inspired? You hear an inspiring class, and by the evening, you're like in total Maya, you forgot everything. That's Maya Shakti. She can just wash your brain of everything good and only leave the bad stuff in it, unfortunately. So that's Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. That's why Prabhupada said every day, every day, every day. And so sometimes you read Prabhupada's books and you think, I already know this. I've read it so many times. Yeah, well, that's okay. When you're reading it again, it's just going from the back of your head to the front, and you need it at the front, because if it's in the back, Maya can come and fill up the front. So read every day, keep it in the front. You know, if Maya's going to go anywhere, she can go in the back, and she's not going to be able to do anything from the back. So generally, devotees who are not reading sufficiently have difficulty, because you require clear intelligence. And that's what Prabhupada's books will do. They keep your intelligence clear. And if you don't have clear intelligence, then Maya is easily bewildered by Maya. And Prabhupada is, in his books, he's appealing to this intelligence of this is, Krishna consciousness is valuable and you should do it. And of course, associating with advanced devotees, that's so powerful, because your desires are reflections of the desires of the people you're around. You're close, you will kind of emulate your closest friends in your desires and thinking. It's interesting, but it's true. So Vivo, the mystery Vivo 1601, rap star, the rap star, Vivo 1601. When's your new CD coming out? Okay. He says, the mind uses intelligence to fulfill its agenda, because intelligence is given according to needs. By this, it seems the mind is a controller of intelligence. Desire is the controller of intelligence. But sometimes the intelligence weakens, and then the mind takes over. So the mind, you can look, if you want to look at it in your analogy, I think it's okay. Or not analogy, or yeah, because it's like sometimes the senses take over the mind. So the lower takes over the higher. So that happens, unfortunately, right? So if the mind takes over the intelligence, then basically you're acting without intelligence, which is called animal life, which is what so many people are doing. We see it all the time. You have no intelligence. What does that mean? I have a mind that's operating without intelligence. So the mind has shut off the intelligence or convinced the intelligence to be a partner in crime. So yeah, it's true. It happens that way. I was once giving a lecture and this was to non-devotees. And so I was saying, you ever have experienced that your intelligence shuts down? You're not acting rationally? Everybody said, yeah. So you could say the mind is taken over. Now the mind is controlling without intelligence. And they say, yeah. And I said, well, what's that called? And I said, that's the way animals operate. They don't have higher rational intelligence, do they? And everybody says, no, they're just acting on impulse. And say, so without a clear intelligence, without a strong intelligence, you're acting on impulse. Pretty dangerous way to live. Have you seen people act on impulse? They'll say, yeah. Have you seen politicians act on impulse? They'll say, yeah. Have you seen people make decisions about war acting on impulse? They'll say, yeah. So now you understand why our spiritual master said, we are the royal edition of the animals. We're polished animals. We're doing the same thing. We just do it in a 5-star way, but it's the same thing. So it's a dangerous position to be in to not have clear, purified intelligence, because then you degrade to just the sensual level. And the mind is the sixth sense. So I hope that answers the question. Yes, we are sisters. See, yeah. I have mystic power. I knew it. How did I know it? Oh, it's Kamal. It's not Mahesh. Wow. Vivo 1601 has revealed his identity. All right, welcome, Kamal. Kamal, can you put on your video so I can see you? You know, the problem with, I get so many emails, but they don't come with pictures. They just come with text. You know, you're not the only Kamal. That's also another problem. Not the only Kamal I know, which with a real Kamal stand. Dun, 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 there he is. All right, turn on some lights so we can see you. The mystery rapper. Yes, okay, thank you. Now we can see you. Okay, good. That Kamal, yeah, okay. Okay, thank you for your question. Did I answer it all right? Is it good? Question is okay? If you have more, you can just type it in. We can't hear you. You're muted. Okay. So we'll go to the next question. And if you have any more, Kamal, you can. This is from Mitil. I wanted to ask you, as you said, that one should desire Krishna before Krishna gives the person the intelligence to attain him. But in a case where a devotee wants Krishna, but there are still some ulterior desires he is unable to avoid, despite trying, what happens then? You try to use those desires, connect them to Krishna. Is there a certain process through which a devotee can gradually detach himself from material desires? There are desires which you could call material, but once you engage them in Krishna's service, then you've spiritualized those material desires. So that's one thing. If you, we all have some material desires, but they're not really material desires. They're just desires, and whether they're material means you just want to do it for sense gratification, right? So if that same desire, you can use that for Krishna, then it becomes spiritualized. So it's important to understand that. So if you find yourself like, I have this desire I can't give up, first question is, can you use it for Krishna? Otherwise, that desire could entrap you. Okay. Second point is, and by engaging that desire, you'll become detached. That's how it happens. You can become detached from knowledge, but it tends to be only detached from knowledge is useful because it'll help you strengthen your bhakti, but it's bhakti which will actually permanently and steadily, stably cause you to become detached. So I like music. Okay, do it for Krishna. I like art. Do it for Krishna. I like to write. Do it for Krishna. I like to act. Do it for Krishna. I have this desire to get this degree in something, something, something. Okay, start a company for Krishna. Hire devotees. To make a lot of money, build temples, or create Krishna conscious projects, or teach Krishna consciousness. I like to teach Krishna, start a company, you teach Krishna consciousness, do seminars, workshops, coaching. I like to coach people in how to become better people and spiritually evolve. So you have to see how to engage it. Now, there's some things you can't engage. They'll just be detrimental. And if you see that you have a desire that's harmful and you can't engage it, you have to detach from it. And the only way to detach from it is by just experiencing Krishna consciousness, the pleasure of it. There's no other way. So Hari Ahir says, sometimes I feel that when I ask Krishna for some help, then I make him serve me, that I should be able to do it. But I directly ask for Guru Krishna's mercy, making them serve me instead of me serving them. It's as long as you're not asking for something to serve you for your own pleasure that has nothing to do with Krishna, then you're only asking Krishna to help you to better serve him. And that is perfect. I mean, if you look at any prayer, oh, Krishna, I want to become a pure devotee. Why? It's not so that I'll be happy, so that I can, so I will, because I know you want me to be a pure devotee. It will please you. That's why I'm praying for it. Please help me, because I know this is what you want. So, Krishna, I want to distribute more books. I want to help people become devotees. Please help me. It's not so I can get the Maha plate and be number one and everyone applaud me when I walk in the temple. It's because Prabhupada wants us to do this, and I want to please Prabhupada. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta wants it. I want to please him. So I need your help. So that's perfect. It's just nothing is perfect when the end goal is just so you'll be happy, just so you will experience some physical, emotional, mental pleasure. That's a problem, because it's not about us, it's about Krishna. And we are learning to love Krishna. That's what we're supposed to be doing. That's where it all goes. Let me love you. Krishna, please help me love you. That is perfect. It's not selfish. And Krishna likes that. And he wants to help you. So you don't have to worry about that. That's definitely not something to worry about. So Usha is going to ask her question now. So I guess you can unmute and.
Thank you, His Grace. I tried very hard to sit here and listen to the lecture, and I didn't want to ask this question, but if I don't ask it, I wouldn't feel settled in my spirit.
Okay.
And when you start talking about women, and it touched a very sore nerve, because if you look at, I'm sitting here in South Africa. We are the rape capital of the world. We have the highest gender-based violence. And most of the time, it's the men who rape women. Most of the time, it's some of the men who are abusive towards women. And if you look at the criminal, it's more men who are serial killers. It's more men who are murderers. So then doesn't that stand to reason that men are spiritually not intelligent enough? Because we women, we are emotional beings. I mean, we trust men to protect us, to be our partners, but they become predatory. So it's like fair enough, I understand, there's certain things women are supposed to do in society, and similarly we must be respected. But if you look at us in terms of women's rights and I have to add in, I'm speaking for myself here because I'm speaking as a founder for a lobbying group called Women's Rights, Power to Empower, and not, I want to disassociate from ISKCON because I don't want Prabhu or yourself to have a backlash or any, because I'm speaking maybe with a feminism hat, so to speak. So I want to make sure that they are protected. And, this is my opinion, because when I look at society, when I look at what is happening to women, and it is the men who abuse them, it's the men who rape them.
Yeah.
So which means that men need to get to that level of intelligence. So please, I beg for your forgiveness if I know, with social media, but this is my view, and I'm speaking up. And if I don't speak up, and if I don't speak out,
I don't think it's your view. You're just stating the facts.
okay.
No, I think it's everything you said is obvious, and that those statements, the women less intelligent, it's a very misunderstood statement. But that statement is not for women; it's for men. It's like, look at, you tell a woman you love her, she's going to believe you, and you're such a fool, you'll take advantage of it and exploit her, rape her, get her pregnant, and leave. That is for you, that you can't do that. That's not your position as a man. Your position as a man is to respect, to care, and so forth. That's what it actually means. And it's not, that statement is really, it's just interesting because we misunderstand these things. They say women are less intelligent. It's not for the women. The women already know, they expect protection from the men. That's their nature. The men don't know it. The men think, oh, here's a woman, she likes me, I'll take advantage. That's especially symptomatic of the last 50 years or so. I mean, it's always there. So it's a huge problem in ISKCON, outside of ISKCON, obviously not as big within, but it's a problem for sure. And so, and you rightly said, as I was saying, that so many women, more women come to spiritual life now than men. So, and as Kali Yuga progresses, men become degraded. And we're seeing more of a homogenization in the world today between the sexes, between abilities, and it's obvious to all those except those who don't want to see it. And there's a lot who don't want to see it and don't want to admit it because men have big egos, so they don't, it's hard for them. I've been told lots of men don't want to marry a woman who's more highly placed materially in the corporate world than they are, because she has more power and she makes more money, and they lose their self-esteem. That's male ego stuff. They should be happy. Oh, my wife's a doctor. I'm a school teacher. Usually it's maybe the other way around. It used to be the other way around. Fantastic. More power to you. And so Prabhupada didn't limit what his female disciples did or could do. Now, there are men who don't represent Prabhupada's view exactly in the name of Varnashram. So there's some balancing there, because in Varnashram is a social system. So if we're going to create a social system based on traditional female values, then some men are pushing that. They want to keep women at home because that's the traditional value. But in terms of the spreading of Krishna consciousness, we didn't see that. In terms of the issues that you're saying, those issues are obviously a problem. And I've seen those issues creep up in our own movement, maybe not in such violent ways, but it's more subtle control, So this women are less intelligent is a misunderstood statement, and it needs to be understood. That's why I was saying, if I were smart enough when I was 20 years old, I would have arranged to ask Prabhupada, can we say this instead of that? But we didn't think of it. And I don't, you know, it's not that when Prabhupada wrote that, he was demeaning women. That's what he was thinking. It was just that when the men read it, that's what they did, or many of them did. Prabhupada was thinking about protecting them when he said that. Because whenever he says it, what's the next sentence? So she should be protected by her father, her husband, and her son when the son is older. That's what follows. So, you know, Battle of Kurukshetra will kill all the soldiers. The women will be without husbands. They'll be exploited. Therefore, it is said in the purport, women should be protected. So, you know, it's the problem in understanding these things. You have to read everything Prabhupada said about less intelligent, everything he said about women. You can't read one statement and come up with a conclusion. If you did a PhD like that, you would fall on your face, right? You have to do your research. And so some people don't do the research, and some people come to ISKCON with views of women, and they read Prabhupada and they go, see? And then they think Prabhupada is justifying their own prejudice and bias, when that wasn't what Prabhupada was doing. And so then we see sometimes people using Prabhupada's words to create harm. And it ends up creating harm. And it wasn't the intention of what Prabhupada said. So there will be, hopefully, I'm working on something where we can get devotees to comment on these statements, and so it can be clarified. And what I think a lot of you women realize is that men need to be educated about what it means to be a man, because everything you said, you know, men raping women, it's all the men have become emasculated. That's not what a strong man does. That's what a weak man does. He can't control himself. You know, it's like you have these men go out shooting deers, and these big, rough, tough, macho men, you know, shooting deer. So like, you know, that's like crazy, you know, go out and, you know, go fight in a war if you're a real man, you know, don't run around shooting a defenseless animal. So, you know, you're a real man and you're beating a woman, like, go in the boxing ring and fight somebody who can fight. That's a man, you know, something like that. So yeah, men don't really know what it means to be a man anymore. They think they're a man if they, you know, abuse their wives. So it couldn't be further from the truth. But so it's going to require education. And that's why that women less intelligent thing is a loaded statement, because many men misunderstand it and then they misuse it. And that's why it needs to be explained. And it's so interesting also, you know, this concept of men protecting women, I kind of understood it to some degree, because, you know, like, you know, I'm not that big, but my wife is like, she can't even do one push-up. She does yoga every day and she can't do like one real push-up. And then I go, oh, I can do them. You know, so I'm this 7-year-old guy doing push-ups. And she goes, that's amazing. You can do push-ups. She goes, oh, men's arms are stronger than women. Most men, not all, but most. And so, you know, she says, can you help me lift things out of the car? She goes, shopping. And I say, sure. She goes, it's really heavy. And I pick it up and it's not heavy. I'm thinking it's going to be like 25 kilos, you know, this bag. And I pick it up and it's like 6 kilos. I'm like, this is heavy. I go, sure, I can take it. It's not heavy for me. So naturally a man will think, okay, you know, my arms can lift things. So this woman is, you know, let me help her. You know, it's not like I'm better. It's just got a body that does different things. So that's natural, but I never heard it. I never heard it explained in the terms it is in the Vedic system until I became a devotee. So women protecting, you know, and so then, you know, we would go on Harinam and some drunk guy or some boisterous person would start harassing the women. And one of our men, you know, strong guys, you know, black belts or whatever, would go up to the guy and just say, leave them. Because no matter how tough that guy was, that devotee knew he could handle it. And he was not going to let the women do it. So it's like natural, just male mentality. In the military, men and women what they found is when they fight and battle together, the men can't fight because they're always protecting the women. They can't, if their buddy is hurt, it's one thing. If a female is hurt, they can't just stop now. They have to. So that's intrinsic. But I never heard it put into words. And so now it's put into words, but then you have these other statements that are misunderstood, which kind of seem to completely obliviate all that and say, how could we have a society where women are treated this way if the Shastra says they're supposed to be protected? You have this paradox, right? That's the difficulty of Shastra. It needs to be deeply understood. And when it's not, then you can say, well, in the secular world, I see that, some men are taking care of their women much more nicely than devotee men. Why is that? It's a misunderstanding of this. Women less intelligent, the wife should do whatever the husband says. But the wife should do whatever the husband says is for the wife, not for the man. It's not an instruction to him to exploit his wife. It's instruction for her to be, this is what it means to be a good, chaste wife, satisfy your husband. But for the husband should satisfy the wife, give her a home, give her children, all these things. That's not for the wife. It's not instruction for her. It's for him. And then we mix it up, right? And then so it becomes, you're supposed to do this for me. You're not doing this. You're supposed to do whatever I say. No, it's a misunderstanding. So then you get all those problems, even though on the other half of it, protect. That's my understanding. That's not my understanding. That's just what I've seen. So we expect better from our devotees, at least. And that's why I think what you're saying, Usha, is that this statement, women are less intelligent, is dangerous. It can have like disastrous ramifications if not understood in the context that was intended. And I agree. I wasn't saying anything different. I totally agree. I see it all the time. And that's why I said, who do we have to protect women from? Sometimes their husbands. Sometimes you have to protect women from their protectors, so-called. That's sad. That's extremely sad. But, religious scriptures come from ages and cultures which are different from ours, and they have to be understood in proper context. Otherwise, you get there'll be another jihad in Sharia law. We can bring out the Manasamhita and have Sharia law. I think one of the most beautiful questions to ask people is say, study all the religions of the world and imagine that were the religion of everyone. What would the world look like? And then you will come to realize that Hinduism would be the best one. Because, with the other religions, basically, if you weren't with their religion, they would just kill you or force you. Whereas within Hinduism, it would be much more benevolent in the way it is meant to be. But we have to be clear about how it's meant to be. Otherwise, one man, he read in Prabhupada's books that the wife should do whatever the husband says. So he said, Prabhupada, does that mean that she should do whatever I tell her? Again, that instruction was for her. Try to satisfy your husband, try to please him. It wasn't for him. So when he said that, so he read that, and that was his conclusion. And he asked Prabhupada, does that mean she should do whatever I say? And Prabhupada said, you should be so arrogant. And he said, and you should be so arrogant to think like that. So he was totally misunderstood, which is very easy, unless we have devotees who can explain these things. And unfortunately, sometimes you might hear a devotee who explains it in the wrong way and makes the problem worse. And if that's the case, then you have to speak up. Just tell them Mahatma said to speak up, so they can blame me. I don't mind. I often stand up for causes which I know need to be stood up for, which people misunderstand, but I don't mind taking the blame, because I know down the road people will see what is true. And if I'm 99.9% sure it's true, I'm happy to take the blame. I actually got kicked out of a temple for doing that once. But then the person who kicked me out got kicked out. So it all worked out. I think he got kicked out for kicking me out. So life is fun. Okay. We have to create some controversy here to keep you all awake, right? Just keep it interesting. Yeah. So Shreya is asking my views on female spiritual masters. Well, I'm going to give the safest answer. Whatever the GBC says, I will follow. That way I don't create any enemies. Because if I say I don't like female Diksha gurus, then I'll have about 5,000 enemies. If I say I like them, I'll have another 5,000. And I don't like enemies. So we'll just say, I can tell you what the GBC did decide, that we can have female Diksha gurus, but if a temple doesn't think that's what Prabhupada wants or that's good, they can say in our area there won't be any female Diksha gurus. That was the latest resolution that was passed, but it hasn't been affirmed yet. There's still some discussion. So that's where it stands. So as far as the GBC, obviously everyone in the GBC did not vote exactly like that. And there are many leaders in the movement who disagree with that resolution, but that's the resolution as it stands now. And there's some more discussion because there was an objection to that resolution by leaders, a lot of leaders in India. And so they've had some discussion on it. They're trying to work it out. And that's where it stands. So technically on the books, they can, but it just hasn't been affirmed yet. So that that answers your question, because it doesn't matter what I think. But I can give you another perspective. I have another perspective, which I think will help you. Instead of looking at what other people think, who is qualified and who isn't, let's look at the perspective of the disciple figuring out who's qualified and who is their spiritual master. Because what we have in ISKCON now is gurus who are authorized ISKCON gurus. So if you're not an authorized ISKCON guru, does that mean you're not qualified, you're not a guru? Of course not. So it creates a dichotomy between the authorized and unauthorized. And there may be some who just don't want to be authorized to give diksha for whatever reason. And they may be seen as less or something. Whereas if you don't have to authorize them, then who authorizes them? Prospective disciples. They see this person is helping me. How do you know he's qualified? Because he helps me. That's the real test. So my feeling is, if someone is inspired by a female devotee and they see that devotee as their guru, do we really have a right to say, no, that can't be your guru? I don't think so. In the overall scheme of things, there has to be some overarching compelling reason. No, this person, he's got a warrant out for, this woman's got a warrant out for killing 100 people yesterday. She can't be a guru. Okay, then she can't be. But does she know Siddhanta? Does she know Shastra? Does she live it? If she has an aspiring disciple who's inspired by her, who is prepared to accept her with all her female frailties as her guru, that's the decision for the disciple to make. If you want another body to make a decision for you, that's not really where we want to go. I mean, and this is a debatable issue, but that's my personal opinion, that really you don't want other people to decide for you. You want to make the person bona fide by your interaction with that person. By this person has helped me, inspired me, and guided me, and in every way, this person is my guru. Why should I not be allowed to take diksha from that person? Why should I have to take diksha from someone I don't even have a relationship with? So that's another angle of vision, which bypasses the female diksha guru and it takes it to another level. So I guess you got my answer. So I'm not for or against. I'm just for devotees finding a guru who's actually a bona fide guru. One time, this question was asked, and I really like the answer. Like, how do you know who is a pure devotee? You know, if this guru is, you know, Mahabhagavad pure devotee, you're supposed to, you know, it said it's up to the disciple, because this guru to you may be a Mahabhagavad, but to me may be a Kanishta, because he's my godbrother, and I, you know, I never liked him, and I don't think he's that great. But it doesn't matter. He's my godbrother. What it matters is he's liberating you. He's getting you out of the material world. He's enlightening you. He's taking you back to Krishna. You know, it doesn't matter what I think, because that's your reality. So why should anybody not allow you to have that person as your guru if there's no reason, if the person's qualified in every way, other than being authorized by an official body who doesn't want to authorize them because they're in a female body? I don't know if we want to go there. I don't think that's the ultimate way to go. That's my personal opinion. But now I have 5,000 people who don't like me. But probably 5,000 people won't hear this class, so then it'll be lower numbers. Okay. The opinions expressed in this class are those of the speaker, not of Westfield Namhata. I just said it. Put that in there, or of Krishna consciousness in South Africa in general. So that's just my, this thinking of mine is not something that came lightly. It's been brewing over a long period of time and lots of discussions as actually a better way to go forward. And I don't know if the movement will go forward this way, but it's discussed by leadership. It's definitely being discussed by leadership as an alternative. Not that anybody, you know, will just be a guru, you know, could be schizophrenic, neurotic, this and that. Can't trust them. It wouldn't be like that. The gurus would be guided, mentored, trained, and, you know, so would assure that they do the best job possible. But they wouldn't be certified by a board. They'd be certified by the disciple, so to, you know, certified by the disciple, because that's the real certification process. Go find a guru. Who? What kind? Who's genuinely Krishna conscious? Specifically, who can liberate you? So, you know, I don't want to tell you not to have a guru who can liberate you, and tell you to find a guru you have really no connection with, because that one's, you know, authorized by a body and this one isn't. That doesn't seem proper in the world I live in. Anyway, Hare Krishna. Do we have anything else? Are we surpassed our time limit?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you so much. Maharaj, you did answer the last question, Kamal Vinit.
Okay. Okay. Oh, okay. I'll go back, Kamal. Thank you for your answer. One more doubt, please clarify. Should our spiritual desires be in proportion to our purity of consciousness, or should we desire more than we're actually qualified for, like for going back to Godhead? The answer is yes and no. If it's good to desire higher, because how are you going to get higher if you don't desire higher? But it's not good to desire high, which is out of your league of even being able to qualify at all to desire at this point. Like, you know, I desire to be a maidservant at the feet of Radharani, making garlands for her when she does Ras Leela. You know, that might be above your pay level at this point. But I desire to be a pure devotee. Yes, I desire to feel Krishna's presence when I chant. Yes, I desire to increase my compassion. I desire that when I teach people about Krishna, they'll feel something. Those things, that's fine. So you have both. You know, desiring greater is powerful, but desiring too great, then it becomes borderline sahajya. like you're desiring something that's like so far beyond your qualification at this point that it's not recommended. Then you go to the statement, first deserve, then desire. It's like once Prabhupada wrote a letter, once Prabhupada said, if you can only digest 2 chapatis, then only eat 2. And the next sentence, and if you can digest 10 chapatis, then eat 10. So that's the answer. If you can only digest 2 chapatis, then at the most pray to eat 3. But if you can digest 10, then you can pray to eat 11, or you can pray to eat 9. Well, in this example, you could pray to eat 11. So first deserve, then desire. So it's got to be somewhat in proportion to your adhikari, but still desiring to take the next step, go further. When Krishna, when I chant your holy name, will I not want to stop? When will I cry? When will there be a tear? That's prayable for us. When you say, when will I cry when I chant, seeing the Leelas of Radha and Krishna kissing Radha and putting his hand on her back, like that's like, wait a minute, hold off until you're, if you're going to desire that way, you're going to need more qualification. You still have attachment to the opposite sex. Don't desire that. It's artificial. When you're beyond that, okay, then you can start. Then you'll naturally desire that. I hope that answers that question. Okay. Kamal. Lotus one. So I hope all the women are happy now.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you so much.
And maybe all the men are angry with me and all the women are happy. That happens a lot also.
Maharaj, if I can just introduce you to one of the persons in our Zoom class, Bhaktin Kuruta Paul. Mataji is from Romania. She did say that there's very little association on that side. And she's doing preaching in the jail as well. And she's a lawyer.
Wow.
Mataji, please greet Bhaktin Kuruta Paul.
Oh, yeah.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. I'm very thankful and grateful for all your brilliant explanation. I haven't questions. I know anytime I ask Krishna something, he's helping me, but sometimes maybe not in my way, and I must understand it's not the way Krishna wants from me, and he shows me the right path. Thank you very much, Maharaj. My Dandavat pranams.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, Krishna will always show you the right path. If that's what you want, if you want the right path. Thank you. There's a devotee in Romania named Andrea. You know her?
Yes, I know, from ISKCON Bucharest.
Yeah, oh, good. Tell her I said hello.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Tell her I think about her a lot. She's very intelligent.
We all appreciate her, and she's very dedicated.
Yeah, oh, nice. Okay. All right, everyone. I think we finished. And
Maharaj, thank you so much. We really appreciate your time and dedication. I'm not sure if anyone else wants to say anything, comment, or realizations. We also have Guadalupe Munoz. Do you like to greet Maharaj, Guadalupe? I see the Mataji has a camera on all the time. It's so nice of her. Mataji, are you there? Guadalupe Munoz?
Talia. Say
She's
hello.
Listening. Thank you so much for joining us.
Talia. Yes.
Yeah.
She's in Mexico.
So nice you got a camera on.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much.
She's amazing.
Maharaj, I hope you don't mind if you'd like to close off with some kirtan. Is that okay?
A few minutes, yeah.
Thank you so much.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hey, Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada Shri Radha Radhanath Ki Jai Shri Gaur Nitai Ki Jai Jagannath Swami Ki Jai ISKCON South Africa Ki Jai Westfield Namhata Ki Jai No more coronavirus Ki Jai so I can go back and visit South Africa. Paramatma, what are there any plans for Rath Yatra? Or is it too much COVID?